Hi, I'm Johnny Good from ultimatepapermache.com, and I got a weird video for you today. I'm going to show you how I made this mask. It's a helmet mask with the shape of a eagle on the front and a crest on the top. What I'm not going to show you is how to make it actually look like this because I had the camera running when I was making a mask, specifically had this really strong vision in my mind that it really needed to be iron and bronze. I had this this idea that I was going to be making a mask for a culture, a non-existent culture that was a combination of aesthetic ideas and technology from both the Mayan culture and the Roman culture. People who never actually got together, I don't think, before the Spanish got there, but I just made up these ideas in my mind and had this great story going, and so it had to be iron and it had to be bronze. I had to have the eagle on the front, you know, I had all these things going on. And then it turned out I didn't particularly like it. So now it's actually made to look like an iron and bronze mask that was painted over by those Mayans because they liked their clay mask better and they wanted their iron mask to look like their old-fashioned ones. That's how I changed this story to make this be okay. So you're going to be finding out in this video how to make the face over a styrofoam form. Again, another weird part, I used WED clay for that process, and I'm now going to tell you don't do that because it's really hard to get it out of the inside of the mask cleanly. It's really fun to work with, but when you go to take the mask, the dried paper mache off of your clay form, the clay kind of gets stuck on the inside. It's not really it's just kind of like it turns it gray, little residues from the clay doesn't come out. And so I would suggest that you use the super sculptor that I always used before. That's what I used in my mask book. That's what I use in the videos that I've shown you how to do masks with this process before. I'm also not going to be showing you how the paper mache itself is applied to that to the clay form, because I do have a video out. Look for Pantaloni. There's a series of 3 of them. You can find the Pantaloni mask videos either on my YouTube channel or on my blog. And since I've already shown that whole entire process and all of those recipes and everything before, I don't want to do that over. So this video is just going to show you how to make the actual positive form out of clay over a styrofoam head, and then how to turn the dried paper mache into a fake iron and bronze helmet. And I'm kind of hoping that you'll like the iron and bronze better than I did because as soon as I turned the camera off, I went ahead and painted the iron and bronze with this iron oxide colored paint that I made by actually mixing powdered iron oxide into some clear gesso. And because iron oxide is basically the same color as a red clay, I just went ahead and put it over here and then rubbed it off in places so you can still see that the iron is in there, but it was painted. I didn't show you how to do that. So hopefully this makes sense. If you'd like to see how this guy was done, go ahead and keep watching the video. This piece of wood I got from the Lowe's, and just a pipe and a pipe fitting. I just happened to have made this a couple of months ago, and it turns out it's perfect for using with this styrofoam head that I got off of Amazon.com. It's almost human shaped, and I think it'll be real useful for this particular sculpture. It has it just comes with a hole in the bottom of it. These are for use for hats, I think, and the hole fits right down over my pipe rather tightly, but still it works. I'm going to go through the process of adding the clay rather quickly here in the video. I did take several hours of video, but most of it actually was showing me standing there looking at the thing, wondering what to do next. So I don't think you would really want to watch me do that. There is one thing to remember when you're using a mask form. What the form is for, obviously, is to make the inside shape of the mask actually fit a human face. In this case, it wasn't specifically designed to fit my face, but it does at least have a sort of human form on the inside. And in order to make it remain human shaped on the inside, you have to leave some part of the mask form itself, in this case a styrofoam head, has to be left uncovered with the clay that you're using to make the mask. Because otherwise there would be no portion of the inside that would actually fit the face. I hope that makes sense. So in this particular one, I'm making sure that the top of the head, at least part of it, is not going to be covered, and I'm going to leave, I think, the very top of the bridge of the nose, right between the eyes, is not going to be covered with clay. And it actually ended up working. It really does fit. There's room for the nose, obviously, because the beak is so big. But then it does sit at the top of the nose, so it doesn't keep trying to fall down. The WED clay is really nice to work with. I wish that it wasn't so messy during the process of taking it out. I didn't try using Vaseline over the clay. I did seal it with some clear sealer, just a spray sealer from Krylon, clear varnish, and it made it a nice hard plastic coating over it. But still, when you pull the dried paper mache off, it still ends up with a whole bunch of clay stuck to the inside. And I'm wondering if maybe that wouldn't happen if I had used some petroleum jelly over the plastic coating. Oddly enough, you can continue to use your WED clay. And the clay that I pulled out of this mask, it had dried and it had that plastic coating over it. But you can still just throw it in a bucket, let water soak into it, and then use it again. It's kind of cool, and it's a lot less expensive than Super Sculpey, so it'd be nice to be able to continue using it. Now in this portion, I actually did make a little clay maquette. I don't think I've shown that to you yet. I will in a few seconds. And I didn't look at it quite as carefully as I needed to while I was making this beak, so as you'll see in just a few seconds, I had to do a little bit of this over. I'm trying to make the shapes as simple as possible so that the paper mache, when it goes over it, it won't actually lose any of the detailing. You want it to be fairly simple and make any dents or lines fairly heavy. Otherwise you'll lose them with the paper mache it's added. Well, just now, I was thinking this is oddly rather long. I didn't remember my original being quite like that, and it isn't. I didn't make the beak anywhere near big enough, so now I need to go back and do that. Don't have to, of course, but I kind of like the proportions of the first one that I made, and I don't like the proportions of this one. So I'm going to fix it. Okay, this is closer to the way I wanted it. Looks a little different from this guy. Here we go. But I think it's close enough. I'm happy with it. I'm going to work on that to make him look a little angrier, but I need both of them on there first so that I'll be able to have a little better look at his expression. Now we do want to make sure that the details, like this nostril, the mouth here, it has to be widened and deepened so that the paper mache won't completely cover those over. And one thing I also did, I don't know if you can tell or not, I just used my thumb to mimic the angry look on the human eye hole that I was trying to produce up here. And that seemed to help make him just a little bit more fierce looking. Still playing with the fierceness thing. Maybe that helped. And I'm also added that little dimple there just to mimic the line that shows up in a human face when he's angry. So now I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a couple of hours. Go ahead and spray this. Here we go with this stuff, the Krylon Clear. And I'm probably going to give it 2 or 3 coats of this, real just light coats. It will, the plastic will harden over this wet clay, which is kind of cool. Now when the plastic was drying, I decided on how I was going to put the crest on. I hadn't really decided before. I was kind of thinking maybe I'd use some wire and put paper mache clay through the wire. And I decided to go with the cardboard because it looked a little bit more like maybe somebody was making some fake feathers. They're going to be bronzed, of course, and they don't look like feathers, but I think they look kind of cool. And I wanted them to be just a little bit kind of random on the ends. So I just started cutting them. And now I'm ready to make the actual mask. I did put a very thin coat of Murphy's oil soap over the clay and the styrofoam just to make sure that nothing got stuck together. I didn't put any release, of course, up on that the cardboard because I wanted that to remain inside of the crest when it was done. And then I just added a layer of, actually 2 or 3 layers of shop towels and the fast setting paper mache paste. And that paste recipe and the gesso recipe, as I said, are on YouTube and on my blog at ultimatepapermache.com. Just look for Pantalone and you'll find it. I went ahead and put the paper mache on the positive clay form, let it dry for maybe 3 or 4 days, and then took the clay out, actually cut it apart and took it out. That part was really messy. It was trying to put the 2 pieces together and holding the paper mache strips on there, so that was kind of difficult. I actually ended up pinning it onto this guy, and that actually helped a lot. And then I put it back and let it continue drying right here on this form, and that really helped make sure that the shape didn't change. Now I went ahead and I actually added another layer of paper mache on the inside just to clean it up, and then I added, I think you probably noticed this, is that I went ahead and used an iron oxide colored primer. So that's where that color came from. This is, let me bring it up, you can't actually see me stirring it. This is metal coating, iron metal coating from Sculpt. I just happen to really have fun with this because whenever you use it, I'm going to be spraying it with a patina. The patina stuff is where is it? I put it in a little bottle. This is Tiffany Green patina from Sculpt. It's an acid that causes the iron powder that's in this acrylic base to almost immediately rust. So you can get a really old look in a way that you can't really, you can't control it entirely. And I like that for some reason. I especially like it with something like this where I'm kind of imagining digging this thing up, you know, from that culture. What did I say? I imagine this being a mask, a face helmet, I guess you would say, that would be built by a craftsperson if the Mayan culture had been invaded by pagan Romans instead of Spanish people. I like making up stories when I'm working, so that's what I decided. And so therefore, this is an old thing that would be, dug up down in Central America somewhere. I don't think the Mayans had iron. I'm not sure. I don't believe they did. But of course, after the Romans got there, they would have. So this is all I'm doing now. I'm doing this little padding thing, stippling it, just so that I don't end up with any brush marks. Iron wouldn't have brush marks. And I'm going to give it one coat of the iron on the bottom, and I'm going to use some bronze coating on the top feather doohickeys, up on the top. And I'll just go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to come back after this is dry, and I'll come back and give it another coat and then hit it with the patina so you can see how it reacts, and we'll both find out how it ends up looking. Okay, now I'm putting the second coat on. This is the bronze is on there, and the iron, of course. And I'm going to put this one on kind of fast because the patina won't work if the acrylic base dries. It kind of dries around the iron and encloses it, encases it, I guess you'd say. So the patina, which is an iron, it's a acid of some kind, will only work if this stuff is wet. And because it's acrylic, it dries rather quickly. So I'm just going to do the iron first, I think, and I'll come back and hit the bronze. I'm just going to do half of it at a time, hopefully. Do it real quick. And you already know, of course, that when iron oxidizes, it turns orange, rust. And when bronze oxidizes, it turns green. So that's why I'm not really sure how this is going to turn out, because the two obvious pieces need to kind of go together aesthetically. I don't really know if they will or not. So we're going to find out. This is the Tiffany green patina. So now what we do is wait. This is always the hard part. It could take up to 24 hours for all of the oxidation to complete, and at that point then we'll go ahead and give it a coating of matte varnish. Well, there it is. It's all done. This one was really fun just because I got to make up stories about it. I mean, I thought it was that's cool, I really like that part of it. I like the research. It definitely looks like iron and bronze. Whether or not I really like the iron and bronze part of it, I'm not really sure. I think it's entirely possible that I would have preferred this painted. And maybe one of these days I'll go ahead and try that. That's what art is all about, right? Trying something and finding out if you like it or not. If you don't, just make another one to do it over. It's not like, the end of the world if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want. This one, like I said, I'm really just not quite sure. Well, as you know, it didn't take me very long to decide that I really, really didn't like it, and so I changed it, put the clay-colored paint over the iron and bronze. And the reason I didn't like it was because the face, the eagle that I had spent so much time creating, just it wasn't standing out very much. There was too much contrast and too much pattern going on, and you really couldn't see the eagle very well. Now that was just an aesthetic decision on my part. You can decide for yourself which way you like it. If you want to know how to make the actual paper mache portion, I didn't include the recipes or the instructions for that because it was in the other videos. Like I said before, you can find that if you just do a search on my blog or YouTube channel for pantalone masks. You can also find all the instructions in this book. I wrote this, I think, last year, How to Make Masks. All of the masks are made with the Super Sculpey for the base rather than the WED clay, like I said in the beginning. This way was actually considerably less messy than the WED clay. Even though Super Sculpey is kind of more expensive, it still works better. So that's how I would recommend you do it. And before I go, one last thing. I just moved up here. I mean, obviously you're seeing that I'm not in my usual studio down in the basement. I was babysitting a puppy this week, and so I moved upstairs to my living room. This painting is in my living room. My daughter loaned it to me, and she gave me permission to go ahead and leave it behind the video. She just won several awards for her paintings, by the way. I think she's doing a fantastic job. You can see more of those paintings if you would like to at her blog at jessirashi.com. I'll put a link to it below the video. Well, even though this wasn't probably one of my best videos, I hope you enjoyed it anyway and got a little something out of it. Obviously, you're still watching, so I appreciate that. Please come visit me at ultimatepapermache.com. I would love to see you there.